I guess the time has come to finally review Blackmagic 6k. I got it on 2nd of August 2020, so I got it almost a year. So I'd say I got quite of the experience with it, and I can honestly review it. Why I even got Blackmagic 6k, since I'm not a DP, not a cinematographer, I'm just a 100% amateur. So why this camera? So before I got it, I've been recording some basketball games on Sony a6400, and it has been quite annoying. First of all, because of the battery life, I wasn't able to record the whole game, which is 1.5 hours on a single battery, so I have to swap batteries during the game, which was quite annoying. And also the quality of the footage straight from the a6400 haven't been that great, because the gym we played in is not that well lit. It is probably the case with every gym, but when I connected Atomos to the a6400, it got better, surprisingly. The footage been a bit better. It was easier to grade and especially easier to edit, because Atomos records in less compressed formats. But it haven't been that good, actually. And I also swapped to a6600. Then I've been able to record the whole game on the single battery, actually 2 games on a single battery, because one game takes around 45% of the battery, so the upgrade was huge regarding the battery life. But actually the footage quality has been exactly the same, and since I would call it a low light scenario, it was not the best. Then I started thinking of buying the second camera to be my main camera and use a6600 as a secondary camera for these games, because I'm recording from the corner of the gym. Then if I have to show the action on the opposite basket, then I have to zoom in. And also one reason to get 6K was the zooms in. So actually with the 6K I can zoom quite far and still get 4K footage. Although with the second camera, it is rather, I'm recording both baskets separately from 2 other cameras. And at the beginning I've been thinking of either Sony a7 III or a7S III or Canon R5. Of course, R5 was just announced, a7S III was just announced last year, and actually I got R5 on the pre-order. Then the shit hit the fan, and there were the rumors that R5 is overheating, and I knew that I would record 4 times 20 minutes straight, or even 1 hour and 30 minutes straight with the camera of my choice. So R5 hasn't been a choice. And at the beginning there were rumors that Sony a7S III got the same issues, although it haven't been true. But the annoying thing has been the price, actually. So I think the 6K in Poland been around 2,500 bucks at the time, and R5 been twice as expensive, and a7S III has been like 2.5 as expensive as Blackmagic 6K. You can argue that, for example, R5 is a hybrid camera, high resolution camera, seems really nice for wildlife photography and stuff like that. But RF lenses are quite expensive, although you can get a EF to RF converter. The thing with overheating was just a deal breaker for me, so I cancelled the pre-order. And actually we've been thinking a bit about a7S III, but since it had been considered that it would be probably available in Poland in October or November, I decided to buy 6K. And I'd say it's been the best decision regarding the video camera purchase, because I'm quite happy about the performance. So I have already recorded at least 150 hours of footage with Pocket 6K, because I'm recording on average 3 hours a week of footage, mostly basketball games, but also some other things like YouTube videos, some personal projects for people. So 150 hours, it is the minimum I've recorded already. And I'd say in most cases it's a very good experience using this camera. and especially the effects are really nice, but there are Corks. And I'd say it is not low light beast, but since it got dual ISO and the second native ISO is 3200, it is quite impressive what the quality I got from the gym with this really lame lighting which I got there. And actually sometimes when we play in summer we got the sun coming through the windows, so I can change in post the ISO setting or change the exposure really easily, because I don't have a time to actually change the exposure during the recording, but I can change in post. So this is a huge benefit of this camera. But what are the corks? The main cork is that if you got the body itself, you can record the stationary stuff like the games I'm recording, because I'm recording from the tripod, so it's not a problem to record with just naked body. But the battery life is crap. Although, since we got the power sockets in the gym, I'm just connecting this to the main power and it works fine. I can record till my drive is full, so like 3 hours straight without any overheating and any stuff like that. So actually in that scenario, battery life is not a big deal. So you can just record with a naked body with one lens and you got to go. But if you want to record something else, then the battery life is an issue, because you can record on a single battery only around 20 minutes, and if you got image stabilization in the lens, then it goes to 15 minutes and it's quite annoying. So I got myself like 3 of these batteries and I've been swapping them out, plus I got a fast charger for them, so I've been swapping them out. But it's been quite annoying when you're in a field and you have to get 3 of those on you and you swap them, and sometimes you want to have a longer take and the battery dies mid take, so it is annoying. So I just got this small ring plate for MPF batteries, and on the smaller one, 50 to 100 milliamps, I can record for more than an hour, and with the bigger one, which is 10,000 milliamps, I can record for 3 hours. So it is quite nice, although you need a cage to be able to connect the battery compartment. What is also great about this battery plate is that I can connect Atomos battery eliminator and basically power this from the mains, and this is one solution too. I do not have to disconnect this power cable from the battery plate. I'm covered in all scenarios with this battery plate, although the Tilta one seems to be more elegant, because the Tilta one is also a best plate. It is mounted vertically with battery mounted like that, and battery is inside the battery cage, and you got a plate. You can screw the plate under, which takes less space. It elevates the camera. Might be a con, might be a pro, but anyway, this one works. Tilta is a bit more expensive, so the only annoying thing is that it takes place somewhere on the cage, so it is what it is. But actually, when I've been swapping these batteries a lot, I've been turning off the camera between takes, and I started worrying about the power button, because it doesn't seem to be very robust. I guess that was a main reason why I switched to bigger batteries, because I would just destroy this power switch eventually. So I switched to bigger batteries, and now I just do not turn camera at all. In most cases I'm running and gunning, for example, 2 hours, and I do not have any problem. I got sometimes one additional spare battery, MPF battery, in my pocket, and I'm good to go, and I can record for like 4 hours. Another downside with this solution is when you got your MPF battery connected, you're quite not able to put your camera down, because there is no flat surface underneath. Although you can put it on the battery and it's not a big deal, but you have to remember that this can slip and something may happen. So not the best solution. I got a half cage, so maybe on a full cage there are more options to connect this battery, but on a half cage it is what it is. Anyway, for shooting basketball games, focusing is not a big deal, because I just set focus on one 2.5 meters with a 4 on 12 millimeter lens, and I got everything in focus. So it's not a problem. I do not focus there. It's a fixed focus and that's it. But when you actually want to shoot with this camera and you're not shooting from the tripod, then you have to somehow focus. The autofocus is not a strong feature here. It almost does not exist. So you use manual focus, and using manual focus without follow focus on this camera is a nightmare, because you have to put your hand below the lens somehow or on the side of the lens, and it's really awkward to keep it like that. This is small lens, but if you got, for example, Sigma, then your focus is there and it's really, really annoying. You got shaky footage and it's really hard to focus. So I'd say the follow focus is a must for this camera. If you do not shoot only from the tripod, then you need a follow focus. So it is additional expense, although it is not a big expense, because this Tilta one I got, it is like $100, but there is but now is a small rig one which seems to be better, and it's also around $100. So not a big expense, although you still need a cage to connect it. So cage seems to be a must also for this camera. There are more power solutions. For example, there is a power grip for this, but it's not that great, because you got only like 50 minutes of recording, or even 45, so it's not worth it. I guess the best options are V-mount batteries, but they are quite expensive and you need a special plate to mount them, and they are heavy, and there are more cons than pros. So yes, that's those two main Corks, the power and autofocus. Probably better than the manual follow focus is either the Tilta handle, because if I got this lens, it is still a bit awkward to keep like that, because my hand is in front of the camera, the left hand, and I keep the camera with the right hand. In most cases I use the Peak Design slide. I got third point of contact on my neck, so I can somewhat stabilize this, but this is not a very stable grip, so it is probably better to have wireless follow focus and focus wheel, either in the grip or original Tilta Nano follow focus handle. But it works, it's not that bad. You can get stable footage even with it, especially if you got image stabilization in the lens, then it's not a big deal. But the camera is quite awkward to handle, so you have to be aware. But I think the reward is the quality of the footage you get from this camera. I'd say it's amazing. It's amazing for the price, and it's amazing generally, because it just crushes other cameras, and especially ones which record only with 8-bit. The Blackmagic says this is 16-bit raw recording compressed to 12 bits, and it's probably true. There is plenty room to grade the footage, especially with new Gen 5 after the latest firmware update. So I'd say it is really nice to work with the RAW from this camera, because you can flawlessly edit that in DaVinci Resolve, and you can just preview the footage on 16 or 32 speed without any hiccups, and with any other format, even the ProRes, you cannot do it in such speed. So that's really nice. And also the quality of the footage is just amazing. Yeah, there are some cameras which are better, but their cost is like twice as this one. So seems this camera get you the best bang for the buck you can imagine. Some Corks with some Corks, but I'm really happy, and I'm really happy I got this one instead of the either R5 or Sony A7S3. I would probably get some full frame camera eventually, but I guess I would aim the hybrid one. We'll see. But I'm really happy about this one. Although I'd say you need to rig it. To be able to use it, you need to rig it. So you need a cage and you need a follow focus. You also need SSD drive, unless you are rich enough to get CF Express card. But I'm not, so I got two of these Samsung T5 1TB drives, and with Q5 I can record 3 hours here, with the Q0 something below 1 hour, but I rarely record with Q0, but I'd say the SSD is a must. And the good thing about the SSD is that you connect it to your computer and you can edit straight from the drive if you want to edit that just after you shoot the footage. And actually I do it for my basketball games. I just get home and I edit them straight after the game, and I do not copy this on my computer. I just edit this. When I'm done, I delete the footage and that's it. So it is also quite handy to be able to record on SSD via USB-C. Of course, the caveat is that you need something to put the disk on. I've seen that some people are using just Velcro to Velcro the drive onto the cage or onto the body of the camera. It is some solution, but I prefer this one because the cables are clamped so they cannot fall off. And actually I got basic Amazon cable. It seems to work the best and it is the perfect length. Also regarding the power, what is great about this solution that I can swap batteries while recording because there is still internal battery in here. So whenever I disconnect this one, then internal battery takes over and there is no break in recording, and then I can pop in another battery and I can actually record till my drive is full. So it is quite nice solution. And I'd say the handle is a really handy thing. Either if you are running and gunning, you can just hold your camera by the handle, you can install monitor here. And yes, another caveat and another con, I'd say, is this built-in monitor. It is not bright enough when you're shooting in the sun. It's not that bad, but there are better solutions than this one. So, and also, if you want to manually focus, the 7-inch monitor is a good idea to have. But I guess the main problem is that this monitor does not move, it is fixed. So if you want to shoot from the strange angle, then you cannot see what's on the monitor, you cannot see if you are shooting correctly. So yes, external monitor, I'd say it is also a must for most of the scenarios. If you're shooting from the tripod, not. If you're shooting inside, it's not necessary unless you got some strange angles. So I got this camera for $2,500. The cage been $100, the handle around $100, maybe $80. The drive is around 150. Now there are promos, it's around $100, maybe even less. Although I would recommend 2 terabyte drive because you can record with better quality. And follow focus is around $100 if you want to get the Tilta Nano, which is the wireless one. It is like 250, and display is around 80, maybe $100. And the external monitor I got, the 7-inch one, is $350, something like that. So the whole rig is still below the 3.5K, which is still less than just the naked body of the either R5 or the A7S III. But yeah, I'd say you need to rig this like that if you want to shoot something else than the static shots from the tripod. But actually, I think if you want a run and gun setup, and if you want a minimalistic setup, probably Blackmagic 4K would be a better choice because you don't have this enormous bulb in front. Your Micro Four Thirds mount is just in line with the body, so you can actually somewhat focus manually without the follow focus. 4K can record like 40 minutes on the single battery, so it's not a very problematic with the power, and you can record there on SD card because the 4K creates less data. But if you want the real deal with the follow focus and stuff like that, I'd say 6K is better option, especially that if people build rigs on 4K, they tend to use speed booster, which actually recreates this big bulb in front of the sensor, and then they connect the EF lenses. So actually 4K becomes 6K without the 6K capability. So it is not a good idea, I'd say. But for small run and gun setup, if you use Micro Four Thirds lenses, 4K would be better. For me, I debated that before I bought it, and I have chosen 6K, and I think that was a good choice. But if you want something smaller and you don't care about 6K, then 4K is probably the better option. But if you want to rig it, then I would say the 6K is better one. Also, the big plus against other cameras that can record that quality is the price of the lenses. For EF mount, you got plenty of lenses. I think this mount got the most lenses available. So you got cheap photography lenses, you got cheap vintage lens you can convert to EF mount easily with just $2 adapter. You got native EF lenses from Canon, you got native cine lenses from Samyang, more expensive options from Meiki, more expensive options from Sigma, and you can go up to for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can still connect this lens directly to the body, and you can use cheap adapters to connect them to the camera. And another big plus of this camera is that you got Resolve Studio for free with the camera. Retail price of the Resolve is $350, something like that, and you got it for free. And what is good about the Resolve compared to other video editing software, that when you got a license, you got actually lifetime updates. You don't pay for any updates, and you got plenty of new features whenever a new version of the Resolve is introduced. So, and also I'd say it's the best editing software, although maybe it got some quirks, but it's for free with the camera. So actually the color grading part is like really good. I say it's an amazing camera. I'm really happy about that. Got some quirks, and you have to think about it. If this camera fits your purpose, if this camera fits the scenario you are going to shoot. For example, you can easily shoot YouTube videos on this camera, but it's a bit annoying because it does not have autofocus. So you have to be aware that there is no autofocus, and you cannot move back and forth. Or if you want to showcase something, then you have to put it like that, or you have to move back and put it in front of the camera. Or you can have a leash, and you can set hard stops on your follow focus and use the leash to focus on your face or on the object you are filming. But it is a limitation. If you want a quick setup, then I use a6600 instead of the 6K. Even though the footage is a bit worse, for YouTube videos it's enough. But compared footage from the a6600 and 6K in the same lighting scenarios, it is night and day. So on both cameras, since they are both APS-C cameras, I use 12mm lens at f4, but actually this 12-bit footage against the 8-bit, especially in the shadows, or if I want to magnify, then in most cases the Sony footage falls apart, and you can rarely see any noise or any quality loss on footage from the 6K, even at Q5 quality of recording. So it is night and day, and also it is much easier to edit raw. Although on a6600 I shoot through the Atomos, so I got ProRes footage. It is also quite easy to edit, and grade is easier to grade than MP4. But it's still 8-bit, so it is definitely harder to grade, and you cannot achieve the results you can get from the 6K with its dual ISO feature. So I think this camera is still worth buying in 2021. There is a 6K Pro version. It is probably better choice, but there are some problems with 6K Pro version, and since I got 6K already, I wouldn't change this for the 6K Pro. If I would buy now, I would probably go with 6K Pro. They address some quirks of this one. There is a better screen, which is tilting. There are ND filters inside, which is a huge thing, and they use better batteries, although the battery life is not that good anyway. But I'd say it's a really good camera, and even if you want to get into the film industry and you want to shoot some real deal videos or movies, this is a place to start. You can start from 4K, but I think this one is better. And Some say that it lacks the full frame sensor magic. I do not agree, since in most cases I record at 2.8 and sometimes even at f4 to get the whole subject in focus. So actually I'd say it doesn't matter. Although yes, if you are a shallow depth of field freak, the full frame like Sony A7S III would be a better choice, but then the lenses are really, really expensive there, and you probably need Atomos to record externally, so it is also it is still a bulky setup. But even from my amateur perspective, it is the best camera I owned. I owned some, and yes, it's only video camera, but it is amazing. So after 1 year of using this camera, I can truly recommend it. There are some quirks, so you have to investigate if this camera fits your needs and fits the purpose you are willing to use the video camera. But in most cases, this is the camera which gives you the best bang from your buck. Seems as a no-brainer. But you have to remember that you need to rig it a bit. So now I think it's $2,000 US, but you need to buy some additional gear to be able to fully use the features of the camera. So follow focus, the cage, and external battery solution. But the results you get, I'd say, are amazing. So seems as a no-brainer to get this one. And actually you can see some of my short movies recorded with this camera on the channel, and I'm not a professional regarding either shooting videos or color grading them, but it also proves that even if you're 100% amateur, you can still get really, really nice results with this camera. Okay, that's it. Cheers, mate.